Hi guys, Steve Buzza here. So I'm a part of the instructional team for the golf, but I also have a biomechanics master's, so I've been very fortunate to be doing yoga for golf for the last couple of seasons. So today I'm going to talk about segment separation, something that's really important for your golf for two reasons. One, and segment separation is kind of using the ground, getting energy from the lower body into the upper body. I kind of like to describe it as like a baseball pitcher because it's really easy to kind of see. You know, they twist up, they put the leg down, they pull the body through, and then the arm gets thrown through. It's a great way to create speed, so you'll hit your drives a bit further, but it's also a great way to control how the arms come down. So if you can get the segment separation good, your consistency will be better and you will hit the ball further. So definitely a win-win. But before we start talking about segment separation, we need to kind of establish where you currently are. Because we've all got slightly different bodies and we don't want to be telling everybody to do the same golf swing if one person's body can do it where the other person's can't. So today I'm going to start with a couple of TPI screening moves so we can kind of see where the body currently is. If you've been like me in this lockdown period and you've been really working the mouth and the arm a lot more than you have the overall body, your segment separation might be a little tight. We might be a little tight. So don't panic if you're tight. And we'll talk about kind of what to do if you are tight, what to do if you've actually got really good separation. So this is the first move. We're going to kind of bend down as if we were going to hit a 5-iron. So we're going to get into a golf posture, going to cross our arms. First movement, upper body only. We should not be moving the lower body. And don't rush this, it's not about how fast you can do it. Do it nice and controlled and put your focus on what your hips are doing. Hips should be doing nothing. If it feels like they're moving, or whenever you turn it feels like the hips have to turn, that's a sign that we've got a little bit of tightness there. What we're then going to do is the same movement, but the opposite way round. So this time, keeping upper body still, and I'm going to move my hips. So this is a great test to show kind of where your body currently is, but the test can actually also be something that you can do to actually train the body to actually move independently. Because if we're struggling, so if everything wants to move together, we're going to struggle to create that baseball pitcher move, that separating the lower body to the upper body. If you are currently struggling to separate, so you can't do this, everything moves a bit like this, factor that into your golf swing. So if the body feels a bit tight, have a golf swing that has a bit more movement. We don't want the lower body and the upper body working too much against each other because you'll create tension you can't handle. Your backswing shouldn't have a lot of tension. So if we do this a bit tight, go on, my swing can feel a bit looser. To the point, can you see when I did that, I lifted my left foot. So currently, swing it that way, and then if you can do some of the exercises we do now, hopefully in a few weeks, a few months' time, your body will start getting better at separating, and then you'll see the benefits. But don't be too hard on yourself if you can't do it right now. Swing the golf club how your body wants to swing it. So that is segment separation. Let's do some yoga. So first things first, we're going to go into a quick warm-up, very similar to what I did in the last video. I like doing the same warm-up because I want to create a habit where you go out on the range and do the warm-up. Warm-up's so important. It gets your mind ready, gets your body ready, you're going to play better golf. So this warm-up, I'm going to do standing. No reason you can't do it on the driving range. So set yourself nice and high, thumbs out, set the shoulders down, make some small circles. I'm actually feeling today I'm quite tight in this upper body, so I could do with this. Once you start feeling nice and comfortable, put a little more speed in there. When we're warming up, we're not going to hold the stretches. When we're actually trying to do a few exercises to improve our flexibility, mobility, and ability to celebrate? Well, we will celebrate when we've got the separation. But those ones we will hold. But warming up, preparing the body for this session or preparing for golf, we never hold. You see I've switched it around, I'm going backwards now. And I'm going to do up to 30. So like when you're warming up on the range, just do it till you feel that your body's starting to loosen. Again, just set my body, stretching, trying to touch the ceiling with one hand, trying to touch the ground with the other. Not rushing, but certainly not holding. And then this one, I think this is a really important one. Sometimes, especially early in the morning, this one can be a little uncomfortable if you're a bit tight in the upper body. But take your knuckles, side of the head, forwards, bang. Really important to stretch back. We're really trying to open up this upper body. I do like 15 of these, and even myself, this is starting to get a little uncomfortable, so I'm going to make sure I do 3 more, not going to rush them, but really making sure I pass that point of being comfortable, because that's where I'm going to start to feel the body releasing. If it is feeling a little bit uncomfortable, use your breathing to get through that phase. So when yoga, we never want to feel pain, but if it gets a little uncomfortable, a few more deep breaths, couple extra reps, that's where actually you're going to see your gains. So starting to feel a bit looser. I could actually go play golf now. So that's kind of what we do with the upper body. The lower body, especially the back side, the hamstrings, very important with golf. What we're going to do, take a step back, go forwards. You want to get a bit more of a stretch when you come forwards? Go forward. There it is. Going to do like 8 of these. Most yoga instructors don't need to worry about the side on. I'm now going to go forwards, I forgot. Got to make the camera love me. Lockdown has been tough. And you see that when I started rushing, I got a little cocky. I started talking to the camera too much, lost my balance. Got to make sure we don't rush. So that's the warm-up phase. I'm starting to feel looser, and I could be ready to play golf now. Something that I see a lot, if we hold tightness up here, this is where we should be turning in our golf swing. And unfortunately, if we're tight here, the spine a bit lower, so the lumbar spine, so like if you've got lower back problems, that lumbar spine isn't meant to be doing the twisting. You know, the lumbar very much allows us to make this movement. The twisting should be happening in the thoracic, a bit higher up. If we're tight here, so whether that be because of posture or just we haven't warmed up properly, the movement, the turning moves from here, moves its way down into the lumbar. It puts you at an injury risk for the lower back, but also because the lumbar is now doing some twisting, the lumbar needs something to protect it, the lumbar needs something to stabilize it. So in the golf swing, we want the hips to actually do the turning, and now they can't either. So if you're tight up here, and your hip movement and mobility, flexibility is good, you might find in your golf swing you can't use it because of the compensation that had to happen. So before we get into segment separation, we're going to do a couple more things for the upper body to make sure that's free, to give the lower body and the hips the best opportunity for them to do their own work. So this is the part we are going to get down onto the ground. And you see I got some blocks here. If you don't have blocks at home, you know, sitting on a towel can be really good for you. It's just making sure we can get comfortable. Sometimes when we sit on the ground, it can be hard to keep your spine up. I want you to feel like, you know, so almost like you're a doll. You know, is that what we call a doll? You know, we got being pulled up for the strings. I've just shown I clearly don't know what they're called, but I think you know what I mean. I've got the long hair, just pull on the hair. Should be feeling nice and tall. When you don't have the block, sometimes we get here, makes it very hard for us to do our work. So set yourself nice and high. And what I want you to do, and this next move is something, it's very similar, fascial release, very similar to what you would do with a roller. So if you've ever rolled, or if you've got one of those massage guns or actually had massage, this exercise here is kind of in the same family. So what we're going to do, set ourselves nice and high, going to pull up here. Now we're in a phase where we're trying to improve flexibility and mobility, so you see I'm going to hold this. If this feels easy, going a little higher makes the exercise a little tougher. If it feels really tough, go lower. But what I'm trying to do here, and I'm going to hold this for a minute, it's stretching out the vertebrae in my upper back. I'm going to do this for a minute, and it will feel okay for the first 10-15 seconds. After then, it can start getting a little uncomfortable. Definitely not pain, but it will feel uncomfortable. Got to use your breathing to get through this. So even now, I'm hitting a point where, ideally, if it was my choice, I would want to put my arms down now. I'm certainly not in pain, but I can definitely feel this movement. Probably be a good time to get a commercial to come over. There's not a lot of action. Just gonna hold it for a few more seconds. And there we go. Again, I know that one feels a bit uncomfortable, so kind of shake that off. But that's very much like using the foam roller. Extends the vertebrae. Can be a really, really important one, not just for your golf, but for your overall health. Even after doing that now, I feel like I can set my posture up a bit higher. But no, it does feel a bit uncomfortable. So we get here. Now we're going to start stretching the upper body a bit. So we're going to lean across, lean back, and we're going to twist to the right. we've held this just for a little while. I feel like you can just stretch that a little bit more. Again, we're not feeling pain. You can just maintain that stretch. Gradually release it. Just go a few side to side just to get rid of that tension. And we're going to repeat the movement on the other side. Very common for golfers to feel okay on one side and then feel very tight on the other. So this one seems to be my tighter side. Makes me want to go down. Got to make sure you stay nice and high. And just ease that one off. So again, that's starting to stretch out the lats. That's feeling pretty good. We're then going to do some cat-cow. This one's going to have a bit more movement, but this is a really important one, actually helping you get segment separation, because it teaches your spine to be able to move kind of independently. So again, we talk about how the upper body and the lower body need to interact. But the spine is going to be the gateway to allow that to happen. So set yourself in a table position. Feel like you're pulling the shoulders back. You're going to feel like you're pulling the shoulders to the back of the room. Sets you nice. Then we're going to go down. When we go down, we can look a bit more forwards. And we're going to reverse the move into the cow. Just do this at your own pace. Check in with your body. Feel what's feeling tight, if one area is feeling tighter than the other. If you find some tightness, stay there a little longer. Maybe just shift from side to side. Just see if you can get rid of that tension. This exercise shouldn't feel too tough. I'd go as far as saying it's enjoyable. I think this is a great movement as well after golf. You know, we can get very tight after we've played. Great way to get rid of some of that tension from playing. So we're going to do this a couple more times. But like I said, if you're doing this at home, I would do it I wouldn't put a set number, I would just do it until you start to feel a bit more comfortable. But we're going to set ourselves again, and we're going to do a very similar move, but this time we're not going to feel it as much in the spine, we're going to move it back into the pelvis. So the cat-cow we just did is very much a standard yoga move. This one goes back into the pelvis a bit more and makes it a bit more golf specific. So if you want to hit the ball further and you want to get some segment separation, what that allows is the glutes, your bum muscles, to fire hard underneath. If we're a bit tight, the muscles can't do that. The glute muscle, yes, it very much protects the back and it's very much a stabilizer, but that like power punch that it can do actually gives you a lot of club head speed, or certainly it gives you the potential to get club head speed. So the movement looks very similar, but what you're going to see, instead of it being up in the spine's now going to stay still, and we're going to feel it in the lower body, or in the pelvis I should say. This movement very small, especially compared to the previous one. Common for this one to feel a bit tighter than the other. And for me it's actually feeling a bit tight today, so I've done the thing I've told you not to do and I've started to go quick, trying to make sure I get it done as quick as I can. That's not the yoga way, Steve, come on. So I'm going to set myself, I'm going to show you it properly. You see, far more controlled. Do as I say, not as I do. Again, this one, we're starting to get into a movement that can actually start finding you distance on the golf course. And check in with your body. If you start to get tired or you start to lose your focus on where it should be moving, you'll start feeling the upper body start to move. The shoulders in particular, they should feel like they're fixed down, no movement. I've definitely got a bit of tightness in there today. I could feel like I almost wanted to shift a bit from side to side. Just sometimes it's being aware and just trying to then take control of that movement. You know, whenever you're doing yoga, you don't have to perform the exercises perfectly. You know, you don't want to be thinking that it's going in a magazine. Just feel it, and if you start to feel some lateral move, or you feel like one side is kind of doing more of the work, just see if you can balance it yourself, and over time you'll actually train the muscle itself to start firing a bit more independently, doing the work it needs to do. One of the issues we get with the body, let's say I've got a really strong right side, the right side will start doing more of the work, so that imbalance gets bigger because of the strength of the stronger side. So yoga is a great way, doing it under control, and just feel what muscles, what side are actually trying to do the work, and see if you can kind of put some intention to balance it out. You know, like I say, over time, your body will thank you because you'll have a system that's not as prone to injury, and you'll actually be able to perform better. So that's a very easy move to do. I like doing cat-cow and that slight modification. I think that's what ad breaks are designed for. You know, when you're watching your favorite TV program, just do that for a couple minutes after you've played. It's going to be really helpful. But we're now starting to get into some moves that are going to help segment separation. And think about it, we are trying to get things to work independently. So all of these movements, wherever we're moving, everything else should be still. So this one here, we're going to lie on our back, set ourselves down into the mat, going to create movement here, and we're just going to go from side to side. I'd rather you went smaller and didn't feel the upper body moving, rather than going further but having lots of movement in the upper body. You see this one, it looks like I'm doing more, but there's no separation occurring. So I would rather you put your intention on getting these shoulder blades down into the mat, and if you can only go this far, this is as far as you go. But we're training ourselves to move independently. So that's the lower body. Upper body, we're going to go on our side, put the arms out, and then we're going to stretch across. If you've got a block, it's quite nice to put a block in here. Feel like you're squeezing down, so that actually puts a bit of engagement in the lower body, keeps it set in one place. Just like the previous exercise, if you can't to go all the way, you have to disengage the lower body. Just don't go as far. Find a point that feels a challenge. See if you can use your breathing. And like, let's say we do 8 reps. See if by the end of the reps, we can go that little bit further. Then this one we're going to switch sides. And just like I was saying with the previous ones, this side is far easier for me to do than the other side. It shows you that I've got a slight imbalance. That's why these exercises are really important. There we go. So they're really good segment separation, but they're very much about rotation. So if you think about the moves I just did then, it's in pure rotation. Whereas the golf swing, obviously the rotation is a very important aspect. Rotation correlates best with club head speed, so rotation obviously very, very important, but it has to be complemented with the other two ways we can move. So if you think about it, I can turn, I can bend, and I can side bend. A golf swing needs those other two to complement the rotation. And the easiest way to think about that is, especially if you've got driver in your hand, if you just turn, you see you end up down. Whereas we kind of have said it in coaching for years, you want to have a nice high finish. But a nice high finish doesn't come by ripping the arms up. It's because as we twist, our body pushes up. So we go from being bent to standing a bit, and it also starts to show a bit of tilting. So it's the combination of all of them that creates a really nice free-flowing swing. You might be thinking, but hang on, I tend to stand up. Obviously standing up can be a problem if you don't have the rotation to balance it out. So a lot of the times when you're thinking of your golf swing, and you go like, why on earth am I jumping up? Rather than thinking, don't jump up, it's thinking, what other movement can I use to complement why I'm not doing the movement correctly? You know, when I'm coaching, I don't like working on don'ts. You know, if I say, oh, don't do this, don't do that, on the golf course, even if you can kind of keep it going for a few holes, your performance will start to go back to what it was. You'll start to struggle by the end of the round. If we can have a positive feeling, so rather than don't jump, feel like I put more twist in, you know, to complement the jump, or vice versa, I stay down too much, I need to feel like while I'm twisting, I push up. You see how that can be far more helpful. But with the pushing up, if we're a bit tight in our lower body, or even if we're a bit tight here, sometimes that can be quite hard to achieve. So these next few exercises are going to be more based on not only creating separation, actually giving you the ability to finish in a nice high position. If you currently can't get there, the answer isn't just pull the arms up, that just hurts. And it's working out, do I need to balance the swing, or am I actually got a bit of tightness that's stopping me doing it? So what we're going to do, we're going to get in a warrior position. So you see, I'm not completely on a tightrope. You know, that's going to make the movement feel really, really wobbly. You know, and although you could argue it's harder, I don't think you'll get as much out of it. So we're going to go slightly wider, going to get the knee over the foot, and then we're going to pull the left hip. So I've got my left foot forwards. I'm going to pull my left foot back in to try and square my hips. You might square them and feel like the knee goes back. That's absolutely fine. Just take a slightly narrower step. But I would rather the hips were square and the knee was over, rather than trying to make a really big wide base thinking the exercise is going to be harder, and either you see like my knees are moving in different directions, lost the structure of my hips. So you see, for me this is a nice knee pulled nice and straight. You can feel the glutes start to engage, and I've got to make sure I stay nice and tall. Quite easy in this one to start getting down here. And then what we're going to do first is just lift up. Get a nice stretch in that upper body. then going to move it back. So I'm going to put more of that side bend component. This one's a really important one for driver. If you hit down on it too much, it creates a nice stretch for you. Set myself again, and then this one. I'm going to create this shape. Going to put the left elbow into my left leg, and I'm going to feel like a twist up. And I really like this one for golf because it has the twisting element, but it's not just a pure rotation. It starts to actually trigger kind of all three planes. Held this a little bit now, and I'm starting to feel the legs want to move. Again, use your breathing. Get just a couple more seconds out of it by using your breathing. And then pull yourself up. Take a step, just shake off. Set myself, and I'm just going to spin to the other side. Again, going to set myself. You might be able to have a far wider base one way than the other way. So before we rush into the move, set yourself again. Again, I feel tighter in here. It can be something that's common, so you're tight there all the time. Sometimes it can be like a niggle the way you slept. So again, it's checking in with your body every time you do this and just going, how do I feel today? Today I feel like I've been eating too much. That's how I feel. It gives me some time to reflect. And you see here, this one, I've not set myself. It's clear that side was my better side. You see, I've let my hips go. So I'm going to go slightly narrower. I would rather be in the proper position than going wider thinking I'm going to get bigger gains quick. Do you see I've gone a bit narrower, straightened up, now I'm ready to go. Drop this one and go over. If the balance is feeling really tough, it's sometimes easier to look forward. As soon as you start looking up, it actually makes the exercise a little tougher. I'm going to come in, create this shape again. So now right is forward, so right elbow goes in. And I start to twist. You can just see like my overall shape. I hope it doesn't look as bad as it feels, but I can just tell this side is so much tighter. I definitely need to factor this in if I want to play my best golf. Starting to shake and wobble. So I'm going to use my breathing, just get a couple more seconds out of it. And then even though it's hurting a bit, not hurting, sorry, even though it's a little uncomfortable, I'm going to gradually go up and then shake it out and pretend that I am not as in bad shape as I've just realized I am. Just shake it all out. But can you see, like, using those last few seconds of each exercise are the bits where you're actually going to really push into the new you, get these mobility, a bit of flexibility, get this separation that you desire, but do not feel any pain. But pushing it, it's surprising what you can do with a couple of really deep breaths. So you see we're working on some nice stuff here. The last one we're going to do on the feet, let's take a block. If you don't have a block, you don't necessarily need it. Not quite as wide when we had both feet on the floor. This move, we can actually go back and we're going to have the toes up. So when we're doing the previous move, that foot was really on the ground. This one we're bringing it up. I might even go a little narrower because it gives me a chance to kind of work on my balance. If it feels like you want to start moving from side to side, feel like you turn your glutes on. Use the glutes to anchor that lower body. We go here, side to side. Shake off a little bit, and we're going to switch sides. Again, toes up on the back. And there we have it. So today we've worked on that warm-up. You'll notice the warm-up, if you've done my yoga classes before, I always like to stick to the same warm-up. The previous video, I like to get us into a habit. We've got to do these dynamic warm-ups. It's going to help our body, it's going to help our mind, it's going to get us ready for the golf course. So if nothing else, try and do that. We then moved into some movements that were a bit more static. You know, the moves that are actually going to try and push us into shapes that are going to allow us to improve our flexibility, mobility, and that separation. Use the breathing to get through it. I'm going to leave you now. I would recommend you have a little lie down, you know, a little bit of corpse pose, have a nice relax. But I'm going to get on to my next adventure. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I'm always around the club, so if you don't see me in person, drop me an email or try and find me over in the golf shop. So thanks for watching, stay safe, hope to see you all soon.